On today's show, it's Alex Ovechkin's birthday. And what should we expect from Ovi as he enters into his 20th season in the NHL?
Your Locked On Capitals, your daily podcast on the Washington Capitals. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Well, hello and welcome into this edition of Locked On Capitals. I'm so glad you decided to join me today. As always, this podcast is free and available on all the major platforms, including the SiriusXM app and on YouTube. And I want to thank you for making this your first listen each and every day. My name is Dan Holme. I've covered the Capitals for the last 3 seasons for Locked On and various other outlets before that. I'm also the host of the weekly show called The Capitals Minute Cast, available wherever you find your podcasts. You can find me on Twitter. It's at DanCaps218. You can find the show on Twitter. It's at Locked On Caps. And the best way that you can help grow the show is to subscribe to Locked On Capitals on YouTube and comment anything down below. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. So in this edition of Locked On Capitals, we talk about what to expect from the Great Eight as he enters into his 20th season in the league, the NHL. Can you believe we've really come up to this moment? I guess it's really kind of showing how old I am. And maybe a lot of you listening or watching this show are feeling pretty old. As I remember when he entered the league for the first time, and he's already creeping up on his 20th season in the league. And 39 years old boggles the mind. We'll talk about that a little bit later. We'll talk about how the black Screaming Eagle jersey is making its return, and a fitting birthday present for the Great Eight, as we know he was rather fond of that jersey. And then in the final segment, we'll talk about arch enemy Sidney Crosby as he gets a 2-year extension with the Pens. But just to get it going here, training camp is right around the corner. It will be starting here real soon. It'll be starting on Thursday. And what should we expect from the Capitals? Well, there are a lot of faces already showing up at camp, and there is a lot of optimism, a lot of players that are looking to make a name for themselves. And the Caps, they are getting ready for that training camp with players like Ovechkin, Pierre-Luc Dubois, Matt Roy, and others participating in these informal on-ice sessions. The informal skates began in August, gaining momentum with the arrival of key players and prospects. The team's workouts have included various drills, scrimmages, skate test preparation, and shooting practice. Notable performers during these sessions have been Ovechkin, PLD, and yes, Jacob Vrana. He is that player that is on the Capitals on that PTO, that professional tryout, trying to make his way onto the team to see if he can break camp with the team and be a part of the team. And ultimately, the question for me is I think that it's there, but where is he going to slot in? Who's going to get bumped out of the lineup so he can go in? Is he going to be a healthy scratch and just kind of an extra? I don't think that is how he would be best served, but that is the intriguing storyline, or one of the intriguing storylines to follow. That's why you want to make sure and subscribe or follow Locked On Capitals, as I will have you guys covered all season long. But today, Tuesday, was a momentous occasion for the Great Eight, as it was his 39th birthday, getting real close to 40 here, and a bit surreal to hear that he is getting that old. And I mean, you know, all old is a relative thing to say, but just remembering him when he first joined the team, my, how time flies. But talking about Alex Ovechkin's health and birthday celebration, Ovechkin, the big captain for the Capitals, of course, is in good shape as the team prepares for the upcoming training camp. And there was that worry out there on Monday, as Sammy Silver reported that Alex Ovechkin left the ice wincing in pain But it seemed like it was just something precautionary as he was a full go on Tuesday. So, thumbs up, things are all right in the world of the Capitals. As we know, Ovechkin, like I said, left Monday's informal practice due to a minor concern, but returned to celebrate his 39th birthday with the team's final informal skate of the season. It is getting very close. Can you believe it? That again, once this is Thursday, once these tests get going, then it's going to be preseason games. And then next thing you know, before we can just blink our eyes, it'll be the start of the season. But talking about Ovechkin, despite some discomfort on Monday, Ovechkin showed no signs of injury on Tuesday and engaged in shooting and passing drills with high spirits. So if any of you were worried out there after you heard those reports that Ovechkin might be injured, you can go ahead and erase that in your mind. As of right now, everything is all good. Players present during the informal skate today was Nick Dowd, Brandon Duhaime, Sonny Milano, Mike Scarboza, Trevor Van Riemsdyk, and Taylor Radish were also present during the informal skate. Some of those players are looking to work on their game. Nick Dowd, of course, a steady Eddie. Brandon Duhaime, Sonny Milano, we need to see a whole lot more from him. TVR, I think that at some point he could be expendable. To be quite, honest with you, I'm surprised that he didn't kind of get traded or bumped out of the lineup during this over the summer or get traded at some point, but he is still on the team. So there is a lot at stake for certain players. And some players, they have a role on the team. They're just looking to work on their game. Ovechkin's career milestones, of course, with 853 career goals. Ovechkin is just 42 goals away from surpassing Wayne Gretzky's all-time NHL goal-scoring record. That is what it's about. It's about Ovechkin watch. Of course, the Capitals making it to the playoffs this season would be huge. But even more huge than that is if he could actually catch and pass Wayne Gretzky. Again, if you are an everydayer of the show, I spoke of that I project him to score 35 goals. But hey, that's just my projection. I would love for him to shatter that and break the all-time record. Talking about team's training camp schedule, the team's training camp officially commences on Thursday with on-ice sessions following physicals and off-ice testing scheduled for Wednesday. So it is getting real in a hurry, Capitals fans, as the start of the season is coming real soon. Again, I'm very excited about this upcoming season. I always am, but in particular, there is a lot at stake. As we know, we only have 2 seasons left for Ovechkin under his current contract. Can he do it? Can he catch and pass Wayne Gretzky? And even the bigger question is can the Capitals win a Stanley Cup under the Ovechkin era? One more. We know that we did it in 2018. Can we muster one more Stanley Cup win under the Ovechkin era? That is the question. Now, some people would say, are you crazy, Dan? You know how good the other teams are. Do you know how many of the insiders are panning the Capitals already as not being that good this season? Like I talked about towards the end of the month, I did an interview with the other hosts of the Metro Division, and many of them they said, sorry, Dan, we don't know how to tell you this, but we think the Capitals aren't going to be any good this season. When that episode airs, I want you guys to respectfully go to their websites, go to their Locked On pages, and say, hey, I think the Capitals, they're not a team to mess with. I think that they are going to do bigger and better things. Say it nicely, of course, but I don't like it. It did not sit too well with me that many of these people that cover these teams, Locked On hosts nonetheless, are already panning the Capitals to be not that great. Hey, I have high hopes for this team. I'm not ready to etch their name on the side of the Stanley Cup, but I do think they have what it takes to make it to the playoffs. And there's things that you can't plan for, injuries, those kind of things. I think the Capitals have a fighting chance just as good as any other team. All right, so coming up here after the break, we'll talk about the return of the black Screaming Eagle jersey. That did definitely delight the heart of the Great Eight. Let's discuss straight ahead. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. And it's frustrating. And I'm sure you've all been there when your favorite band, your favorite performer, your favorite sports team is playing, and there's a myriad of different options about finding tickets, but then it's about getting the right seat. And how is this stage going to look from where I'm sitting? Well, let me tell you something. Game Time takes the confusion and the guesswork out of all of it. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON. NHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. All right, welcome back into this edition of Locked On Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So some excitement abounds as there is the return of the black Screaming Eagle jersey. And some people would say, well, what's there to be excited about? Well, if you follow this show, if you are an everydayer, you know that I spoke about recently that this jersey right here, in one publication, one poll was voted the worst jersey in all of the NHL. Now, I know that they're only going to wear it on select dates, but maybe that could grow. Maybe if the reception is that great, maybe it'll grow. And at the end of the day, like I talked about before, you got to think that this is good. I like this, but being an accurate assessor, taking my Capitals colored glasses off, a bit dated, if you will. And I think that who's ever in charge of it, hopefully they're tinkering, they're coming up with ideas. And at, some moment right out of the blue, they're going to go, hey, this is going to be the new Capitals jersey starting next season. It's the little things to get you excited, but it's not a little thing when you think about it. How your team represents itself with their jerseys is a really big thing in my opinion. But that was the news that was broke today about that new Screaming Eagle jersey. Alex Ovechkin of the Capitals was recently surprised by the team with a return of that black Screaming Eagle jersey, a design that he has been a vocal advocate for. The Capitals unveiled the jersey to Ovechkin and shared the heartwarming moment on social media. Ovechkin, who has always been a staunch reporter of the black Screaming Eagle jersey, expressed his excitement and gratitude for the surprise, exclaiming, "Yes, it's good. It's so good. Love it. Thank you for the prize. It's back, babes." And he's already kind of broken history wearing that jersey. So I think that that already kind of endeared that jersey to him. And maybe he looks at the jersey kind of the same way that I do, is that this jersey is nice. But I think that that black Screaming Eagle jersey is, well, a nice take on it. And maybe it's something they can wear more often in coming years. Talking about Ovechkin's fondness for this jersey, the logo, and what makes it so special to him, Ovechkin's fondness for the Screaming Eagle logo and the black jersey dates back to the early days with the team. He has consistently shown his presence for retro designs, or his preference rather, emphasizing his attachment to the classic aesthetic. Ovechkin first publicly urged the Capitals to bring back the Screaming Eagle jersey in 2020. It's expressing his desire for its return on Instagram and garnering widespread support from the fans. It's a good looking jersey, and there are other ones as well. The one that's behind me there, you take a look at the one that has the W on the front of it, all nice. But if I had to pick a favorite, I would agree with Ovi that it is that black Screaming Eagle jersey. And the success with the black reverse retro 2.0 jersey and its return during the 22-23 season, Ovechkin notably achieved a notable success while wearing the Capitals' black reverse retro jersey, scoring in every game he sported the iconic design. Despite the jersey not making a return in the following season, it has now been announced that the black Screaming Eagle jersey will be worn 6 games during the Capitals' 50th anniversary campaign in 2024-25. It's pretty good. I mean, I was hoping for more, but I think the Capitals kind of know. As you saw that at home, they didn't wear this jersey that I'm wearing right now. And if you're listening on the audio side, it is the red jersey with the Capitals on the front, the one that you've seen, the Rock the Red era jersey. Sometimes it's been dubbed as, but I think that they need to have their eyes set to the future, or I mean, I would have no problem if they fully transition to making the black Screaming Eagle jersey their full-time home jersey. What are your thoughts? Hit me up on Twitter at DanCaps218, at Locked On Capitals, or on YouTube, of course. And then the meaningful surprise coinciding with Ovechkin's 39th birthday. The meaningful surprise coincides with Ovechkin's 39th birthday, adding an extra layer of joy and celebration to the occasion. If you did take a look at the Capital social media, he was very happy about all of it. And it's sometimes like you say, it's the little things in life, and you could call it a little thing. I don't really think it's that little of a thing, but I think that Ovechkin is excited about this upcoming season. Some big additions that, on paper, will make this team markedly better. Will that be actuality? I guess it remains to be seen. Right now, I think that he was happy to be back with the Capitals, his 39th birthday, entering his 20th season in the league. And the good news is the black Screaming Eagle jersey is back. I think it's something to be excited about. Again, I wish it's something that they would wear more often, but maybe if the support is there, that will happen. That will just happen, and the Capitals will wear it on more of a regular basis. All right, so coming up here after the break, we'll talk about Sidney Crosby. Yes, that's Sidney Crosby. Got a 2-year extension. What does that mean for the Penguins, and what does that mean for the rest of the Metro? I'll discuss straight ahead. You've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Well, we have something a little different for you. Now, through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. A pretty sweet deal, all things considered, if you follow an NFL team outside of your market. And you take a look at it, FanDuel and NFL Sunday Ticket have you hooked up. What's not to love? Then with YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out of market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. Just visit fanduel.com to download America's #1 sportsbook. All right, welcome back into this edition of Locked On Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So Sidney Crosby of the Pittsburgh Penguins got a 2-year extension. You might be thinking to yourself, hey, Dan, this is a Capitals podcast. What are you doing talking about that? Well, what do we know is that the Capitals play the Penguins fairly regularly, and they usually give the Capitals fits. And, it is definitely a formidable opponent, as there is a bitter history going back and forth. Just in particular, Crosby and Ovechkin. Sometimes they lock horns, but it is a mutual admiration society off the ice. But when they're on the ice, well, sometimes it gets a little bit physical. And what do we know? That Sid is going to be with the Penguins for the next 2 seasons. You take a look at what the Penguins have done, kind of, adjusting on the fly. He is that first line center, Malkin, second line center. You got Rutger, McGroarty. There's a lot to be excited about with that team. And I understand that those things, jumble around a little bit, but on paper, I think the Penguins are going to be better. And that's a good thing for the Penguins, but it's something that the Capitals will need to be prepared for. But there was a lot of questions out there if Sidney Crosby was, in fact, going to want to come back to the Penguins. He was quite discontent with how the Pens played last season, and was quite vocal about it at times. He was not a guy that, hides his feelings, or doesn't usually hide his feelings that much. And he wasn't too happy. But at the end of the day, Sidney Crosby is a Penguin through and through. And what does that mean for the Penguins? And what does that mean for the rest of the Metro? The Pittsburgh Penguins have secured Sidney Crosby, their long-standing franchise player, with a 2-year extension worth an average annual value of $8.7 million. The deal will keep Crosby with the team through the 26-27 NHL season, possibly marking the conclusion of his remarkable career. You take a look at it. Sidney Crosby has said that, despite the antics and in the locking of horns on the stage or on the ice, that he actually looks up to Alex Ovechkin and all that he's accomplished. So it's interesting, and you got to think, I kind of think that the Alex Ovechkin is going to score 35 goals this season. Some people think that he's going to be able to catch Gretzky this coming season. But say something crazy happens and he's not able to catch Gretzky under his current contract. Would he sign an extension to do it? And it's interesting, would Crosby and what he's done with the Pens, does that affect anything that he would do with the Capitals in the future? I don't necessarily think so. I've heard some rumblings out there that wouldn't it be, interesting if Ovi signs an extension? Listen, at that point, he's going to, get to be a bit older, and we don't want Ovechkin to stay with the team any longer than he wants to. But as far as Crosby and that friendly rivalry, drafted first overall in 2005, Crosby and Ovechkin have been central figures in the NHL for nearly 2 decades, engaging in fierce competition and continually vying for career milestones. Crosby boasts 3 Stanley Cup championships, while Ovechkin holds a significant lead in career goals with 853 compared to Crosby's 592. Again, not an apples for apples comparison, as we know that Ovechkin is a winger, Crosby's a center. So again, not an apples for apples comparison, but you take a look at what Sid has accomplished with the Pens, I would still take what Ovechkin has accomplished thus far, just in the goal scoring department. And the fact that they won a Stanley Cup in 2018 is a nice feather in Ovechkin's hat. Talking about the conclusion of their careers, the timing of this potential retirement aligns closely with that of the long-standing rival Alex Ovechkin of the Capitals, who has expressed his intent to retire when his contract concludes in 2026. The two have developed a close friendship in recent years, setting the stage for what could be a remarkable conclusion to their respective careers, a battle royale from two players that have locked horns on the ice for years. There's an interesting storyline to follow there. That's what I was talking about. The similarity between Ovechkin and Crosby and how their contracts are structured somewhat similarly. Is it possible that Alex Ovechkin would sign an extension? Yes, but I think that he's going to be a little bit long in the tooth. And I think the absolute only way that he would consider doing that is if he didn't catch Gretzky under his current contract. I think that if he catches and surpasses Gretzky under this current contract, there is little to no chance he signs an extension. I think that maybe that he'll play his last season over in the KHL. But it's an interesting storyline to follow, as at least the next 2 years here we'll observe and see how this all shakes out. But talking about Hall of Fame induction, both Crosby and Ovechkin are destined for first ballot Hall of Fame induction, having made indelible contributions to the sport throughout their illustrious careers. Ovechkin fittingly summarized their impact on the NHL by stating, "We saved the NHL," during an interview in 2023. Definitely revolutionized hockey in the district. Alex Ovechkin, that is, and Sidney Crosby, he did wonders in Pittsburgh as well, and what he has done with that team. But, you take a look at it, it's about the next wave of players for the Capitals, for the Penguins. As you take a look at the Penguins, they're not the youngest team in the world on the ice anymore either, but they are starting to make those transitions. Take a look at the Capitals, though. They are well on their way to doing that as well. I think that it got jump-started this past season with Backstrom stepping away and Oshie's injury and Kuznetsov getting traded, that they, made that change. I ultimately don't think that the Capitals would have made as many changes as they did had it not been for the injuries and inconsistent play. But in any event, you take a look at Crosby, you take a look at Ovechkin, two of the greats, regardless of what we think of the Penguins, regardless of the long-standing rivalry, you got to tip your hat to Sidney Crosby and Alex Ovechkin. Because if you just take a look at the back of their hockey card and all they've accomplished, it's quite something. And, you take a look at it. Like I've said, I think to a certain extent, Capitals fans and Penguins fans, for that matter as well, is that we kind of take it for granted that we have two greats that we're watching in real time. There's a lot of teams in the NHL that don't have an Ovechkin or a Crosby type player. They wish they did. but they don't. And those teams, it's hard. It's hard to be fans of those teams year after year as they struggle. A lot of those teams have players that are big, but not quite like an Ovechkin or a Crosby. I think as Capitals fans, I think if there's any Penguins fans watching or listening to this, we should count ourselves lucky that we were able to witness it. The true greatness of Crosby and Ovechkin will definitely go down in the books as two of the greatest to ever do it. All right. Once again, I want to thank you for joining me on this edition of Locked On Capitals, your only daily year-round podcast covering the Washington Capitals. And I want to thank all of you that listen on the audio side and watch this on YouTube. You are ultimately what makes this show successful. All right. Once again, I want to thank you for joining me on this edition of Locked On Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name is Dan Holme, and I'll talk to you again next time.